So communication is another very scoring topic, very simple topic. You have most of the questions that are very direct in this section. So the first question, for example, is on paralanguage. Now we have already covered a series of lectures on communication where we have discussed the types of communication, the importance and the methods of communication. Now paralanguage is a component of language which actually does not require verbal views. So you have non-verbal clues that are there. So what is very important, it is a kind of expression which is intentional, where for example a child is doing a lot of notorious activities in the class, rather than speaking something from the action of the eyes, from the expression of the face, a child would understand what is important, what is not, what to do in the class, what not to do in the class. Okay, so emphasizing on something, emphasizing a constant emphasis that this is not a way a child has to be in the class is important. Then the impression, also the voice, the kind of voice modulation, if I'm speaking like this and if I'm speaking like this, so what happens is there is a change in the voice. Then the rate of change, the volume of change and the pitch, so all of those are going along with the voice, the rate, the volume and pitch. So those are some of the critical characteristics of paralanguage. Besides this, one of the choices here is social space. Now social space is not a correct option because it is considered as a kind of virtual space where a lot of people interact, and this is not a part of paralanguage behavior. Okay, it's a kind of way of interaction. Now there is a circular communication. So you have encoder, you have a decoder. Okay, the information goes from encoder to decoder, and circular means coming back to encoder. So how it comes? It comes through feedback. So let's say I take a class, you listen the video, and then in the comments you give a feedback that might be, madam, you could write bigger fonts, might be, ma'am, you could use more of different light colors that are there. So what happens, this is a kind of feedback. Now this is a feedback which is a part of a circular communication. It's continuous, it goes on and on. So let's say one of the students would give one of the suggestions, it would be incorporated, might not be incorporated, then that would be reflected in the next go, and then it's a kind of process of continuous improvement that is there. Which of the following is not a principle of effective communication? Now effective communication, the same thing that we have discussed in the previous question, is successful when it is a circular communication. So a constant feedback. If I keep on writing with the same color, let's say this is a purple board and I am writing with purple pen. Now you are not able to view it. I do not receive any feedback from you, and I keep on taking the lectures in the same fashion. So is it useful? It is not. So it's not an effective communication. I'm writing a lot of things, but you are not able to grasp any of the things. So one-way transfer is not a part of effective communication. When there is feedback, when there is a circularity, or when there is a two-way communication, an interaction, a feedback, that's definitely a sign of effective communication. The rest of the all, participation definitely would lead to feedback, persuasion and convincing dialogues. Definitely, if I'm constantly saying, okay, don't prepare now, you might convince, no ma'am, there is a right time to prepare for the examination. So there is a kind of convincing dialogue, please take the class on these topics. So those are covered. And then strategic use of grapevine communication. Now grapevine communication is interesting. Let's say a company is thinking about layoffs. Okay, so rather than straightforwardly telling to the employees that the company would be laying off, what a manager might do is, a manager might tell one of the candidates of the company to work properly. There could be scenes where layoffs could start. So what would happen? This would be a kind of grapevine communication which would move into all the employees very quickly, and there is a kind of information that is percolated to all the employees. So manager had not to speak to all of the employees. All of the employees now know there could be a scenario of layoff that could occur. So this is a kind of strategic use, and but definitely a effective communication, because everyone now in the company knows they have to work very hard in order to survive in the company. Okay, the next is The following are experimental learning activities which are adopted by the teacher. What is the correct order? Now, first of all, whenever there is learning, you try to assimilate the concepts. So, the first thing is assimilation of the concepts. Once there is assimilation of the concepts, you are trying to accommodate it, adjust it to your existing faculties, and then there is convergence. So whatever you have read is coming together. So there is convergence, and finally you are thinking out of the box. Now you are well versed with the concept, you understand everything, so there is divergence or creativity or thinking out of the box. All of those one and the same thing: divergent thoughts, creativity, or thinking out of the box. Okay, so that would happen only once you are well versed with what you already know, what is your subject, and what are the parameters to understand this. So this is a process of an experimental learning activity. The next is the process of communication enhances through. Now the process of communication enhances when there is no pressure. Let's say there are 20 students into the class. I'm one of the very strict teachers. I enter into the class, I speak and I speak and I speak, and I don't let anyone speak. So what would happen? At some point of the time, there is a kind of pressure on the students and the communication is not getting enhanced. So to avoid that scenario, a teacher has to be calm, composed, be very well mixed with the students. Okay, so what we are trying to do here is, in the same topic, we are trying to understand teaching aptitude as well as communication part. Okay, and there should be no undue pressure on the student sitting in front of you, that there is a teacher entering into the class. You have to be very attentive. You cannot make any kind of disturbance or something. So what is happening here is a relaxation or a pressure free atmosphere would strengthen the process of communication. Now this is very important. This is something that we have already discussed in our teaching aptitude section. So these practice questions are a way to enhance your learning, to enhance your thought process. Okay, now this was a kind of question that was asked in 2014. The award, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award, was given to, now during that time it was given to Gulzar, so that was one of the questions. But now definitely you won't be asked about 2003, but this is something that can be part of your contemporary section. However, since long we have not seen kind of direct questions like this where you have been asked about who has been awarded this. But yes, for this year, Malala is a Malala's work is very important for environment. And the role of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the change of MHRD to Ministry of Education, and please go through all the expected questions that we have covered for this year, which is important. Now, educational TV was first established in 1959. Now, the history of the Indian television starts around around late 50s. Okay, so around 50s you have the history of education system that starts in India. The cabinet took a decision to move from a kind of print medium to audiovisual mean, and and television was introduced in India during the UNESCO, when you had a lot of investment in Delhi by UNESCO for the game series that had come, and finally you had during the Asian Games, this was revealed as colored TV. So that is a very important aspect. Initially when television was released, it was mainly for the purpose of bringing awareness, community health, the rights of the citizens, the duties of the citizens, developing kind of better projects for the students. Now there are sometimes on the old screens of television, if you see, there are sometimes, if there is no proper antenna connectivity, there are blurred dots that are seen, and those dots are known as snow. So these grains which appear on the TV sets are also known as dots, simply dots, or the snow. Very important question. This was part of your June set, and it's usually commonly seen with the analog TVs, not the digital TVs. So when there is signal interruption from the antenna, you have those dots on the screen, those are seen, and those are known as snow or dots. The next is digital empowerment, means providing digital literacy. It's not just a simple numeric literacy, but a digital literacy. Universal access to all digital resources, collaborative digital platform for governance. So definitely bringing in e-governance, e-chopals as we have understood, and portability of all entitlements through cloud. So everything now is through cloud, or your information is saved through cloud. All your records are being maintained through cloud, so you have a lot of easy accessibility. You do not have to get your documents notarized at any point of time. You have e-Aadhaar that is there. So that's all the ways through which you are digitally empowering. You have electronic means of payment, electronic means of communication. So that's very, very important, a very important question in light of the digital India, and this is something that we have covered also in our expected questions. And the next is the latest development in the hardware technology is the introduction of FM channels. These are not related to the concept. So FM means frequency modulation, and this is one of the hardware developments that is seen as one of the recent developments in technology. So from AM to FM is one of the major transformations that have been seen. Those were some of the kind of questions that are asked from this section on communication. As I said, these topics are direct, simple, and you just have to know these in order to attempt these. So just go through some of the lectures that are available on the channel for communication. That would cover definitely a lot of it, and that would be highly important for your examination purpose as well. We would be covering many more interesting topics and interesting sections for your net examination. Don't miss those. Have a wonderful day ahead.